Hey everyone, this time on Tim Talks Audio, we're cleaning up your sounds and getting rid of that reverb. This is Waves Clarity Vx DeReverb. If you're in pro audio, you know the company Waves. They've been around for a very long time, and they're expanding their Clarity Vx line of plugins. The original Clarity Vx helped clean up some unwanted noise. Now we're reducing the reverb that may be captured in your recordings to help clean things up and bring the presence and just understandability, or intelligibility is the correct word to say there, of your recordings, making sure that you are able to understand what is being said, what is being sung, what is happening without being distracted by a ridiculous amount of unneeded or unwarranted reverb. I was able to shoot a video on location in a very reverberant room, so let's jump over to that video and then we'll dive into the DAW. So here I am in a very reverberant room because today we're checking out Waves Clarity Vx DeReverb and DeReverb Pro. Sometimes we don't get the ideal recording situation. Sometimes it's a live environment, and sometimes it's somebody's living room. You need to be able to take the room out of the equation because recording in a room, the room has a sound. But with DeReverb and DeReverb Pro, we can pull some of that out using Waves AI, just like in the other Clarity series of plugins, and we can reduce the amount of extra reverb from our recording environment and from our source signal. Let's bring this into the DAW and take a look at how it works. Okay, so here they are. This is Clarity Vx DeReverb down here on bottom, and above it is DeReverb Pro. Now you'll see and hear with both of these plugins, they are very strong. The AI that is built into both of these plugins does a crazy good job of reducing that reverb that's happening within this video. So instead of talking about it, let's just dive right in. I'm actually going to turn off DeReverb Pro and turn on DeReverb, the baseline version. The intro price is $29.99 US dollars on this. But now watch, I'm gonna hit play. We're gonna listen to the same video, but as it's going and just a couple of seconds in, I'm gonna start to increase the dial, which is the only control you really need to worry about on DeReverb. You can change some other stuff and we'll get into that, but this is the moneymaker. This is the entire plugin and what you really should be worrying about. But let's get the controls real quick. Left side is how you can change what neural network you're using, dialogue 1, dialogue 2, or singing. Yes, you can use this on a singing vocal if that vocal was recorded in a not ideal environment. Underneath that, the analysis or width. Is it just a single person talking, or is it two people talking? Is it recorded in mono? Is it recorded in stereo? This way, the algorithm can figure out how to process the sounds. And then you have a present style underneath, and you may have noticed it tells you on the bottom of the plugin what these controls do. So 50% restore vocal presence. Larger values, those greater than 50, just enhance the high end. And if you drag it down, it just it dulls it out a little. You can double click, enter in your number, and then it snapped it right to the location. And then on the right-hand side, this is just a little graph that's going to show you the frequencies coming in and the amount of reduction. Let's listen to DeReverb on the same video track. So here I am in a very reverberant room because today we're checking out Waves Clarity Vx DeReverb and DeReverb Pro. Sometimes we don't get the ideal recording situation. Sometimes it's a live environment, and sometimes it's somebody's living room. You need to be able to take the room out of the equation because recording in a room, the room has a sound. But with DeReverb and DeReverb Pro, we can pull some of that out using Waves AI, just like in the other Clarity series of plugins, and we can reduce the amount. So you can see, with using DeReverb, you can very quickly and easily just dial it up, even not a ton, and get rid of all of that unnecessary or unneeded reverb sound of the recording environment that you were in. And you could probably already tell how huge this is going to be for the post-production film, TV kind of world. But this is also really something we can use in music as well, because Maybe they recorded in a studio just like mine. It's their home studio. Yes, maybe it's not as treated as mine is, and it's just a spare room. You can get rid of some of that not great reverb and then add in your own. But let's move on, because DeReverb does a lot, but DeReverb Pro can do more. So now we're going to jump over to DeReverb Pro. It's on the same thing, and you can see by default, this is how it looks. It's this plugin up on top. It's been here the whole time. Why are we not talking about it? Let's get into it. So up on top, we are now seeing an EQ graph right on top, and then very similar controls to DeReverb on DeReverb Pro. The neural network is here, same neural network options, dialogue, singing. The analysis, everything is the same here. Auto, click to reset. You can scan the source signal coming in, and it's going to pick the best one. Strength multiplier, and again, these plugins tell you what they do. On the bottom left, increase the dereverberation factor to the full frequency spectrum, so you can increase how hard it's de-reverbing. Then, of course, you have your main control right here in the center. Then as we continue moving on to the right, we have tail smoothing. This actually lets you bring back some of that reverb sound to make it a bit more natural and to not completely cut everything off. And you'll hear that in a bit. We'll go all the way and then we'll bring the tail up a little bit to just kind of make it sound a bit more natural. Underneath that is another presence style, just like we saw on DeReverb, same kind of thing. And then we have an output level meter over here. You can have them linked, you can unlink them, you can engage a limiter. You can also adjust the stereo width. Obviously, you're only going to reduce it down. So if you have a stereo recording of your vocals or your actor or whatever the situation may be, but you need it mono, you can just slam this down to 0 and now it's mono. We didn't really touch into this, but in the EQ up on top here, you can go to any one of these 6 bands and adjust the emphasis going into the DeReverb. So think of the EQ section before the DeReverb. So if you really know that there's a ton of low end or mid range or high end, you can emphasize it going into the DeReverb algorithm and it'll work better. Check this out. So we're going to go back to flat. We're just going to flatten everything out. I'm going to hit play again, use the center dial to get rid of a bunch of our noise, and then I'm going to go into the graph and really clean things up. I have one from before on setup A, but we'll flip over to that. We'll use our ears this time and we'll do it live. Check this out. So here I am in a very reverberant room, because today we're checking out Waves Clarity Vx DeReverb and DeReverb Pro. Sometimes we don't get the ideal recording situation. Sometimes it's a live environment, and sometimes it's somebody's living room. You need to be able to take the room out of the equation, because recording in a room, the room has a sound. But with DeReverb and DeReverb Pro, we can pull some of that out using Waves AI, just like in the other Clarity series of plugins, and we can reduce the amount of extra reverb from our recording environment and from our source signal. Okay, so again, that's dialing in with DeReverb. We went all the way, we increased the strength, and it was almost like I was in a dead, quiet room. But for me, this is too strong, but it was a great example to show you tail smoothing, where it reintroduces some of the original sounds to make it sound a bit more natural. It's too much of the early reflections for me, but you can see how maybe some of these early reflections followed by a more natural sounding reverb can put the actor or the main character into whatever space you need them to be in. Everything's on a green screen, but they're in a cavern, give them a gigantic reverb. Maybe instead of a giant cavern, they're just in a small office room or a bathroom or a submarine. You can be the one putting those sounds in from a not great recording environment and then creating the atmosphere and the soundscape of what the audience can hear and listen, and you can draw them in that way. Okay, so here's the last example that we're going to do. We're going to hit play again, and using just the default settings and bringing up the main control here, I'm just going to dial something in. Let's dive into this one. So here I am in a very reverberant room, because today we're checking out Waves Clarity Vx DeReverb and DeReverb Pro. Sometimes we don't get the ideal recording situation. sometimes it's a live environment, and sometimes it's somebody's living room. You need to be able to take the room out of the equation because recording in a room, the room has a sound. But with DeReverb and DeReverb Pro, we can pull some of that out using Waves AI, just like in the other Clarity series of plugins, and we can reduce the amount of extra reverb from our recording environment and from our source signal. Let's bring this into the DAW and take a look at how it works. I think you can see how ridiculously powerful this plugin can be and a bunch of different use cases for it, whether it be for film and TV or for music. Again, it's just cleaning up some not as ideally recorded source signals, and it doesn't matter what that source signal is. So this plugin is obviously geared towards vocals, but it's not saying you can't use this on something else. What's something that maybe you could offer as a suggestion that you need to pull some reverb? My initial thought is maybe some drums. They're in a not great room. Really clean it up that way with some DeReverb. Just something to think about. So there it is. That's Waves Clarity Vx DeReverb and DeReverb Pro. Use the link down in the description if you want to pick up a copy of either of these plugins today. It is available right now. And if you're early, you could probably get the intro price. DeReverb intro price is $29 and DeReverb Pro is $99. But these are for limited time, so make sure you jump on this and go over to Waves and pick up your own copy. That's all for now. If you found anything informative, please like and share the video. Want to talk more plugins, maybe post-production ideas? Jump into the Discord. There's a link down below. I'd love to work with you on whatever project you're working on, so let's work together. Head over to timflansbaum.com and let's get that process started. And if you have a question, ask it in the comments and I'll answer it in a future video. Thanks for watching.